Welcome back to the Contacts Coaching Podcast. We are joined today by Demareyeh Lane, Coach D Lane, KIPP Navigate Collegiate Prep, Year 1. Coach, thanks for taking the time to jump on. I really appreciate your efforts to make this happen.
For sure. Appreciate you, Coach, man. We made a connection a few weeks ago at the new AD workshop. Hit it off right away. I definitely had to come on and shoot the shits with you a little bit.
Yep, there we go. Let's get into it. Take us through your background. How did you get into athletics? How did you get into coaching? How did you become an AD? Just give us from the beginning until present day. Take us through the journey.
Yeah, man. Man, good question. Loaded question. Born and raised from East Oakland, California. Been playing ball all my life. Played at Castro Valley High School. Do a multi-sport athlete there, right? Played basketball, a little track, football. And then I went on to Laney College. So I'm a big JUCO guy, right? Big JUCO advocate. I did a semester at Laney College under the legendary John Beam, for Coach John Beam. I played for him. Then I transferred to my college. You see right here, my boys, my Louisiana brothers, Southeastern Louisiana, small D1 down there in Hammond, Louisiana. Enjoyed my time down there, had some of the best food of my life, gained a lot of weight, but enjoyed it down there. And then, man, I graduated in 2017, and I've been in education and coaching nonstop since. I graduated in December 2017. January 2018, hit the ground running. And when I say education and coaching, I mean from every level. I think my first job was childcare day watch at the YMCA. So, like, I have experience working with babies on up to high school, middle school, elementary, middle school, high school. And my most recent coaching stint when I had the secondary at Laney College under the same Coach Bean. I coached with him in 2021. Had a couple kids there. I coached the secondary, helped a couple kids get out, transfer to their universities. And then I ended up at my most recent spot now where I coach at James Logan High School. I'm the defensive backs coach over there in Union City. And then I'm the new first-time athletic director here at KIPP Navigate College Prep. So that's a little bit of my story.
That's awesome. So obviously the entry into coaching was not surprising, being a collegiate athlete and going through the process that you did. How did you go from coaching at James Logan and the other stops in between to becoming the AD at a school that you're not even coaching at?
Yeah, man, it was a lot. I'm 30 now. I'm approaching 30 here. And I got to say, a lot of my 20s was a lot of nickel and diamond, working odd hours, graveyard shifts, working crazy jobs just to support and get by, right? To support me and my family. And as we all know, especially you, Coach, we don't do the coaching in California for the money. We do not do it for the money in California. So it's definitely something you got to be passionate about. And the athletic director gig, man, it just lined up all my purposes and passions into one, as far as me being able to blend my education experience and background with that, and blend it with the athletics, which I've been playing my whole life, sports. And it was an opportunity I just really felt like I could not turn down, especially once they offered it to me. I was like, man, I got to take this to push me and myself, my family into the next level of my life.
No doubt. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I would say for the majority of us, we started the same way you did, just piecing things together, trying to survive, all so that we could do the thing that we want to do that doesn't pay us very much money. And I'm curious because I feel like we're in this time period where club sports has become so overwhelmingly influential, and it's a $40 billion industry that at times is just a giant money grab, where us landing coaches in the education space has become harder, partially because of the money, but also just this idea that if anything, we're losing money doing this. And you have to be okay with it. And there's a purity to that versus what's going on in the club spaces where directors are making six figures, right? It's like, how would you say that path has helped you at each of these stops and prepared you for what you're doing today?
Oh man, that's another great question. Yeah. You know what? I wanted to flip it on you real quick. I wanted to ask you a question. So you probably don't get many of them, but this is my year one on your show. This is my year one in this space. And I just thought about it when I answered your last question, but I'm sure you've been in the game a lot longer than me. What has kept you here in California? Because I have a buddy who was a head coach at James Logan. He's actually the guy that brought me to James Logan a few years ago. Left James Logan about 2 years ago, became an assistant coach in Tennessee, Now he's the head coach making $200K. Not even teaching. He's the head football coach in Tennessee for a high school.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, oh my God, man. Like,
yep.
And it's, you know how the South is. Come on.
I do.
So what's keeping you out here?
Let me answer that after you answer my question, because I'm very curious as to what your take is, and then I'll give you my 2 cents. So I want to know, like, my answer to my question first, which is, how do you feel piecemealing your life together to continue to stay involved in athletics has prepared you for and is helping you in this current job? And then I'll give you my take on what you just asked me.
For sure. I can't give you like an exact answer on like how has it helped me or how hasn't it helped me. What I want to say is I've been chasing my passion, man. I've been chasing what I'm most passionate about. So like I told you earlier in my 20s, a lot of nickel and diamond, right? What I didn't mention in there is I did a 6-month stint in tech. I did 6 months for a construction company. I did 6 months at FedEx, right? Working a graveyard shift. I've done so many different things to put my hands in so many different job sectors that I quickly realized I was most passionate about the youth and sports. And once I realized that, I think I made the most money I ever made at any single job during that 6 months of tech. We're in the tech capital over here in California, made a lot of money in the tech industry. But by 4th to 5th month, I was exhausted, Justin. Like I hated it. Waking up every day like, man, I'm not passionate about the work I'm doing. And that's when I quickly made a pivot and transition right back into education and coaching, just because I realized, man, I can do this for free. I can get up and do this. I don't need nobody to motivate me, to push me to go work with kids and that. This is just what I'm about, man. So yeah, I think that's what made me my passion.
No, I love that. So you were living a daily version of Office Space, it sounds like, and you wanted to come back.
Sure.
And what makes us go? All right, to your question, boy, I could say a lot of things that might not land well, but I'll give you the 5-second version. Is I'm a Californian, and I've lived here my whole life. I was an Alameda, Oakland guy growing up, moved down to the peninsula, did my formative years there, went to UC Davis, Sacramento, cut my teeth there, moved back to the peninsula. So I'm a Northern California guy. And you were down this weekend, and you know where I live, and there's no place better than it. So I'm not trying to go anywhere else, right? I'm living out my dream job at my alma mater. I don't have the, let's call it the itch that when you're young, you're trying to climb the proverbial ladder. And I'm in my dream job. And so that's what keeps me here. I think, to your point, yeah, you can go coach football in Tennessee and make $200,000, and that's great. And all of the volunteer state people that are listening, don't take this the wrong way, but you got to live in Tennessee. And I live in coastal California, and it's not a knock in Tennessee. I'm not even driven through yet, but it's not coastal California. And so you can't
pay for this weather, man.
No,
you can't buy this.
I was down this summer. I took my son to the Manning Passing Academy. So we were in Louisiana for the first time in my life, right? I was in New Orleans. I was in Thibodaux. I'm in that whole area for a week, and it's okay. Neat. Like right now, I'm in Western Massachusetts, and it's okay. This is cool, right? But it's not coastal California. And there's just, forgive me for saying something that may be perceived as negative. I just look at it and I'm like, I live in the most beautiful place in the world, and I'm not trying to go anywhere else. And so how do you juggle that, right? How do you figure that out? Cost of living, you already said it. Like, you don't coach in California to get paid. Not at the high school, not at the education-based level. You get gas money if you're lucky.
Thanks.
And I think as you're new to this and you have more experiences and you've been other places, right, there might be a pull where it's like, you know what, I really like it over here, and fantastic. I've got some former students actually that were stationed outside of one of the bases in Tennessee, and they loved it. They still have a house there. And my brother-in-law has been all over the country and all over the world as an Air Force officer, right? So he gets exposure. I've started traveling internationally in the last 4 years, and it's like there's a million places that now are on the radar that weren't before. But this is, I'm going to ramble here and we'll get back in putting you on the seat, is as Americans, let's just say that, I don't have the right, United States residents are not generally well-traveled outside of our country relative to the rest of the world. That's just part of what they do because they're so close to everyone else. And so I think if you're a native-born U.S. citizen, generally you're living most of your life within a couple hours of where you grew up. right? Unless you relocate for some reason, your family moves when you're young. But I bet you if you did a quick survey of all your buddies here in NorCal, like most of them are all from the same place, right? And that's something that I think is just different for us. And I think us pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone to go find new places actually speaks to what you're saying. So
For
anyway,
sure.
back to it. So the reason I was asking about that, right? It's like you have a collegiate Dobo job, right? Director of operations type deal where you're doing everything. And I cut my teeth as a basketball manager at the college level. And the reason I was asking how do you feel it's prepared you, while there may be surprises in what you're doing because you've never done it, I would imagine most of the stuff doesn't scare you is not the right word, but stress you out because it's, man, I've had worse. This ain't it. And so it was more about that. So talk through some things just in this first month that you thought you were prepared. You've done all this other stuff, and all of a sudden it's, oh man, I need to figure this one out because I have no idea.
Quick, I got a perfect one for you, Justin. When we met each other at the new AD workshop, man, I'm not sure, one of the ladies that spoke before you, she was our president, I believe, Mary, or one of the ladies that spoke before you at the workshop. She got up there talking about organization, right? Mind you, I've been at my job already for a couple weeks now, like 3-4 weeks. I'm setting up my Google Drive. I think I got everything nice and neat. I think I got things organized or in the right spot, right? I think I got things in the right spot. Man, when that lady put up her Google Drive, like my head just went to spinning. Like,
This will
bro,
be
I thought
Michelle, right? Michelle Nolan,
Michelle,
she's the president
yes,
of our CSADA. Yeah, she's super organized.
yes, super organized. Like, I'm talking about that night, Justin. I went home. I was up that night till about 9-10 o'clock, rearranging my Google Drive. Got it set up just about how hers was. And shoot, I just had a meeting with my assistant athletic director today, and showing him the same thing. Hey, bro, this is how it needs to look. I thought I had it in order. I was far from what Michelle had. Yeah, that's one quick tidbit.
That's awesome. What else? What's come across your desk here that you weren't prepared for in regards to, I don't know, transfers, in regards to things that budget decisions, whatever it might be?
Yeah. Transfer, luckily, I guess I hit that one out the park my first try. I put in 2 transfers. One already got put through. The kid just has to sit out for a couple of weeks. The other one we're still waiting on. But from the CCS office, they said I did everything correct. So that's good news. But one thing I'll definitely say, I was a little intimidated by, as far as when I took the job initially, was budgeting and just working with that as a first-time athletic director. And I also feel like it's twofold, as far as it was a bit intimidating, but my school, KIPP Navigate, we're very small, which means a small budget. I also came to find out or realize that I believe it's also a perfect landing spot for a first-time AD, as far as small school, not as many athletics, small budget to work and learn how to maneuver with. I found it in so many realms, different situations where I can grow, room for growth here. And yeah, I'll definitely say budgeting probably has been the main and most thing that's intimidated me a little bit that I'm trying to get underway. But other than that, yeah, everything's been sweet.
Yeah, it's a lot that's going to come at you like a fire hose, right? When you're coaching a team or you're a position coach in football, right? You have your little area that you're responsible for, and then you're basically zooming out 10,000 feet on steroids covering the entire program, right? Where it's, okay, I don't just have to know about this. I got to know about all the steps as we go up the ladder. And I'm curious, right? You come into KIPP Navigate, right? You already mentioned you're a small school. You don't have a football team. You have, I don't know how many programs you have, but there's some of the things that you already know that will translate that you're bringing with you, even if they don't currently exist.
Yeah, I think one thing that blew away my principal and school leader in my interview. She said she's never heard of study hall, not for athletics at least. And I told her, I was like, that's mandatory. Any athletics program, I don't care. At every level I've been at, we've always had study hall. And I told her that she should definitely be expecting that from my athletics program for any sport. I don't care what sport it is. If you have anything below a 3.0, you're in study hall. That's just mandatory. That's how it goes in my athletics. So that's definitely one thing I'm trying to bring over here and really actually blend and marry that student athlete, right? We're not athlete student first, right? It's student athlete. And I know she said, my principal said it was far too many times previously where a kid would get in trouble or have bad grades, but she'll turn around and see that kid still playing. And I was like, that's not how it's going to work here with me at all. We're about building young men and women to be product members of society when they leave high school, and having a pathway, having a plan and a pathway. That's what I'm most big about for my athletes. We're not here to win games. Of course, we want to win. Everybody wants to win championships, banners, the whole nine, but that's not the long-term goal here at my athletics program, right? We're trying to build young men and young women to be great model citizens in their communities. And yeah, that's a little bit of me and my nutshell with my program.
No, that's great. And I think obviously every site is different in regards to how you have to navigate academic grade checks, making sure kids are eligible, right? And you got to meet your population where they are. And often the infrastructure is not in place to do that. And I'm glad you're able to bring that in there. Is there anything that you have noticed already in 3 weeks, right? In theory, that's when people started, of watching your teams practice, that you have been, let's say, impressed by, that you're like, yo, I'm going to steal that for my own coaching approach? Anything you've seen your coaches do that you're like, wow, okay, I like that?
Not yet, because our first game is quickly approaching here for girls volleyball next week, actually. I mean, we have tryouts tomorrow and Thursday. So I will see tomorrow and Thursday, but I will say one thing I have realized so far in my first couple of weeks here at my school: the girls are dominant when it comes to athleticism. I would definitely say that I have far and above more athletic girls, I believe, right now than my boys. And I'm not sure if it's running rampant in your area, Justin, but man, these girls are highly interested in flag football. I know the PSAL, our league, and CCS talked about it a few weeks ago about that sport growing. We don't have it yet at KIPP, but I envision us having it within the next 1 to 2 years, because it's growing big around us in our section and in our league. And it's a bunch of girls here that wants to play it, man. Bunch of girls.
Yeah, I mean, it's the new hot thing, right? And we don't have it currently intentionally as of this moment. It's a strategic decision, because one of the things that I think you'll find out pretty quickly at a smaller school is you got to figure out where you want to push your proverbial casino chips in, right? It's okay, you can't do everything. What are the things that are mission appropriate for your space? And how do you sustain those programs? So we have 6 girls' sports in the fall already, school of 500 kids, where 83% of our kids are playing athletics. And you introduce something like flag football, which is the hot commodity right now, and it's what's going to suffer, what is going to lose athletes as you introduce that, and are you willing to sacrifice that tradition and history? And we're at a place right now where I haven't been shown the overwhelming interest to where it's okay, I have to do this. It's been there's a little intrigue, but really nothing like people are banging on the
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
I think those are some of the decisions that we have to make in partnership with our school leadership, right? Is who are we? Do we want to try to be like everyone else? And I think it's a tough question, because ultimately, if there's a groundswell, then right, you want to meet people where they are. And you also got to respect your tradition and history. And I don't know the other places you've been at if you've run into that, but right, there was let's say the last 10 years, there was a real chance that kind of our baseball program was dying due to lacrosse being super popular. And now it's tipped back the other way, and baseball is refining itself, right? And lacrosse numbers are dwindling. And both of those sports are super important to us. So as the AD, it's like, how do you sustain both? How do you keep kids interested? And I think our biggest thing right now as a school of 500 is traditional football, 11-man football, right? Where we had 65 kids last year. This year, I think we got like 48, trying to field 2 teams. And we've got our 1 through 20 on the varsity team is as deep as it's ever been talent wise, but we don't have any depth after that, which is challenging because you need bodies. And so it's like, how do you sustain program where kids are getting pulled in all kinds of different directions now by the outside influences, be it their travel team, the push for sports specialization, be it unlucky injuries that add up. And anyway, it's complicated. And that's one of the things you have to navigate at your school side. How do you see that shaking out as you get into this spot?
Yeah, man. Good question. It's something I've been looking at a lot as far as with youth sports and club sports outside of the high schools. You mentioned earlier club sports being a thing, especially with girls volleyball. It took me forever to find a volleyball coach, just because I guess they said volleyball is the new youth, especially girls club volleyball, like where the coaches get paid shit ton of money. So my thing is, and we have our fall sports parent meeting coming up soon. We're a big soccer school here, so I have to save this message for the winter. But something I want to just start relaying to all my families and parents, because I went to watch my nephew play youth football a few years ago, Little League, and I have two boys myself. And I quickly, after watching my nephew play at that jamboree, said I will not let no other guy coach my son in youth football, not contact. Not the fact that I went to college, but I actually know how to play the game and coach the game. So I said my kids won't be playing to contact early on. They'll probably play close around 10, 11, 12, and I won't let nobody else coach them. I'm coaching them in football. Other stuff is fine. But I say that to say I want to send a message to the parents as far as go to these practices, go to these games of these clubs, of these other youth leagues and teams or whatever. And this is not me knocking those coaches or saying they're any better or less than our coaches in the high school section, but this is me saying actually go, because for one, a lot of the times on these club teams, they don't have practice. It's a money grab. They're showing up. The coaches either showing up for the check, showing up for the money from the players, from the parents. They're not actually working on skill development. And then, yeah, it's just overall, man. I'm not sure if it's a lack of coaches with knowledge or good coaches at the lower levels, but I'm not seeing it, man. I'm not seeing it in youth sports as far as good instructional coaching, constructive criticism given by the coaches. So that's definitely something I will have parents be cautious of when they enter a club sport. Actually go to the practices, go fill out the coach. You interview the coach. You have a set of questions for the coach. Understand where he's coming from. Does he have an angle? Does he or she have an angle? Or are they actually here invested in the student athletes trying to get them better? Because 9 times out of 10 on that club scene and AAU stuff, guys are there for the check, man.
Why do you think that shifted? That was never what sports were about.
Man, I'm all for it on the college level. I feel like once they opened up the NIL, it's the Wild West up there. We already know. The NCAA and college is the Wild West. And I believe once the NIL came into play and they just opened the doors right on it, it sprinkled down in the high school, which was already coming down in the high school as far as paying top prospects to go to certain high colleges and stuff. Man, when that NIL dropped, I knew the coach at Bishop Odell, men's basketball, my guy Lou Ritchie. He had a kid leave his program. I'm talking about not even a week after the NIL stuff dropped a few years back. Kid left his high school program to go play for a pro league. I think the kid was an underclassman. He was a junior, one of the top juniors in the nation, but left because he was offered like $2 million from a overtime elite or whatever, one of those professional leagues. And I'm just like, man, like he doesn't stand a chance to keep that kid now. And I don't know, man. I think I'm worried as far as the future of our sports, as far as the competitive balance and nature, because it seems like now everybody's just chasing the check, man, chasing the dollar. That's what it seems. That's what it seems about. And I'm all for college kids getting paid, of course, pros, but college kids getting paid. But you also got to keep the main thing, right? If you're a football player, but you're out every weekend BSing during the off season or when you're not with your team, but then you try to come to coach and say, hey, coach, I need a re-up on my money on my NIL deal, or it's the off season, they're asking you might have to get the door out and go to the transfer portal because you haven't been handling business. Why? Because you haven't been keeping the main thing. So, yeah. It's the Wild West up there, Just.
What would you say as you go through your entire career and you think about the best thing that you do in your program that you think has the largest ripple effect on your culture? What would you say that is, and what are you looking forward to, not just bringing to your current location, but to all the programs that you have a touch on, right? So you're talking about your children's teams in the future. So I talk about trying to give people things that are tangible, that they can share, that they can take with them. And one of the things we do when I was coaching the men's basketball team forever is like we would hug before practice, after practice, before games, after games. And part of it was like young men aren't taught to be vulnerable and emote. And so like, how do you break down those walls? And when I went to coach the girls, I had a little bit of a hesitation just because of boundary crossings and things like that. And we got partially into the season. I didn't feel we had the same connection. So I presented it to them and they were like, yeah, let's do it. So we do it there too. And it was transformational. But what are some of the things that like you have in your toolbox that you want to offer up to others and just be like, look, if I could offer you anything, these are a couple of hacks?
Yeah, I actually have a term for it, or like a small annotation for it. I actually been practicing this with all my programs for some years now, but never really could find a name for it. Find something to stick with it, and I ended up landing recently on FIO, right? FIO, that's like our mantra over here, and I actually need to start putting it in more stuff here at KIPP. But that's something I've been about. FIO stands for figure it out. All right, at the end of the day in life, man, you got options. We always got options. We always got options and we always got choices, right? And when you're faced with adversity, you got to figure it out. You got one or two things to do. You can either cave in and give in to your circumstances, to whatever is crippling you, or we can actually come together and figure it out, right? Figure a workaround, figure out what is causing this hiccup, right? And because it's too many times over the last few years, I just found myself looking at young men and women, and it seems like they cave so quickly, or any little thing can just kill their day or their emotions, how they feel for that day. And it's, man, you're in control of you. You're in control of your attitude. You're in control of how you approach day to day. You're in control of your intentionality and how you set forth each day, right? And I'm very big on just figuring it out, man. FIO, let's serve up options to these kids. Let's show them that, hey, that's not the only way to go about it, right? When somebody gives you constructive criticism, you don't got to just put your head down or tuck your tail, go cry or something. Like, there's other ways to go about this. So you can actually push back on the coach here and ask him a question or challenge him, but not in a way to challenge his authority, but more so challenge him as a coach to be better as well. Push back. Don't just instantly cave in. I'm big on that across all sports, all athletics, right? Just preaching the athletes, FIO, man. Figure it out, because you will face adversities in your life, small, big, large, however it looks, day to day, year to year, month to month. We have adversities. How do you deal with them? That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I have said to people, that we all have our little like cliches or whatever, right? And someone will say, like, how resourceful are you? What? Like, how you, what solutions can we figure out here, to your point, right? Figure it out. Or other ones I throw at people, hey, life's not fair. What do you want to do about it? And how do you navigate those moments where you want things to be, I don't want to say easy, but clean, and and simple, and they make sense. And shit, half of what we do, like, we're not dealing in that world.
It's not cut and
Right?
dry like that.
Do you have any stories over your playing or coaching career that are anchors for you, that always take you back to that moment when we're giving that advice? Coach, you don't understand. Yeah, let me tell you about how I understand.
Yeah, man, I got a great one, man. I tell this story a lot in interviews. Whenever that one question every interview loves to ask you, name a time you've had some adversity or something in your background. And this is my go-to, and it's funny. Graduated college in 2017, started working and coaching in 2018, and my very first coaching job was at my alma mater, my high school, Castro Valley High School. And I was the receivers and DBs coach there my first year. So we had two kids. The story surrounds my receiver room and my receivers. So we had two kids. One kid had a broken wrist all summer, right? I get there beginning of summer, in the spring, beginning of summer. One kid has a broken wrist all summer. Mind you, I see in spurts here when he in the drills that he can do, this kid's supremely talented though. He can move. Then we have another kid and that kid is underclassman, by the way. Then we have another kid who's about to be a senior, I believe, and he was like already pegged the starter. Like, he was already starting before I got there. So once I get there, I just let him start because the other kid's hands broke anyway. He's not doing everything in practice. Fast forward to when the games start. We get into about the first 2-3 weeks. About week 3 or 4, the kid whose hand is broke gets cleared. So right before his hand gets cleared, we play a game. God awful. Receivers, god awful. Head coach hits me up. Coach Lane, this is unacceptable. Your guys not playing up to the standard. Take it to heart. Got you, coach. Instantly get on my guys, right? Because I take pride in leadership in my room. These are my guys. So I instantly make a group chat with all the receivers and let the receivers know for this upcoming game week, guys, the position is wide open, all right? I will name a starter Friday before the game. Let me see what you got in practice. So we get to practice. The kid that's been starting all year, right, in practice, attitude, everything, just going down in practice the whole week. Kid whose arm was already broke, just showing out constantly, every day, right? Fast forward, we get to Friday. I tell the head coach, I'm going with this kid who had the broken arm. He's going to be our starter today. think we ended up blowing the team out, or we're blowing the team out. I think we're playing Newark Memorial or something. We're blowing them out like 40, 50 to nothing at halftime. And it's the second half about to start. And our head coach looks over to me and says, "Hey, Coach Lane, let's get these 2s and 3s. Let's get the backups in. Let's get everybody in. Let's get some reps for everybody, blowing the guys out." I said, "Sure, Coach, no problem." Turn back and look at the kids who had been my starter already. Look at them and say, "Hey, man." Excuse me. As soon as I turn around and look at them, though, faces red, mad as hell, crying, just mean mugging me, just staring at me, pissed off. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, all right, buddy. You sit right there, bucko. Stay on the sideline. You're more worried about yourself. Stay over there, okay? So I go tell the head coach, I'm like, "Hey, buddy's over here. Little Johnny's over here crying. He's pissed off. He's worried about himself, coach. I don't think we should play him." Head coach say, "Fine. You don't want to play him, you ain't got to play him, coach." So we don't play him. Fast forward to right after that game ends. I'm in a coach's huddle, coach's circle. You know how the football game breaks, everybody getting together. The head coaches are in the middle of the coaches are in the middle of the field. The head coach is on the sideline with the players packing up. All the coaches are meeting. And then next thing you know, I just turn around because I hear somebody say, "Hey, Coach Lane." It's a parent. It's the parent of the kid who was benched. He yells at me, "Hey, Coach Lane, you don't need to contact my son anymore. Please don't text him. Thank you very much." And he just walks off. I'm like, okay. Me and all the coaches, we're all looking at each other. Okay, whatever. Fast forward 5 minutes later, our head coach finally walks up to the coaches huddle. He's like, "Hey, coaches." And then he looks right at me like, "Coach Lane, man, I'm going to be honest with you. The guy basically called you a racist to my face for not playing his son. Openly called you a racist for not playing his son." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Whoa." So we have a meeting the next week. Mind you, the following week we have a meeting. Head coach is there, the parent is there. I'm not sure if the player is there, but the admin over athletics is there. Mind you, that admin over athletics is my former high school football coach. He knows me. This is my guy this day. So he knows my character. He knows me. So we're all in the meeting. The parent comes in there pissed. "Hey, my son, he's been starting. It was his position. He's been starting all summer. It's his." First question I asked him, I'm like, "Dad, did you ever play any sports or like college athletics or anything?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Then you don't know, but you should know that every day rent is due with sports. Every day rent is due. Nothing is set in stone here, sir." And then the parent gets to wanting to talk about other kids and how I'm like, that's what we're not going to do in this meeting, is talk about other kids. I could talk to you about your kid. You're more than welcome to come out to practice, sir. Like, you're more than welcome to come out to practice. You can see how your son played dick when I opened the position up. That's not on me. That's on your son. You can come to practice. And basically say all that. We ended up coming to an agreement by the end of that meeting. Like, Dad was like, "Hey, you know what, Coach, you're right. You're actually showing him the right way. Like, he has to go out and earn it every day." And yeah, that's my one story, man. I say that every time, Justin. So it was a lot. Sorry.
And that's year one, right? And you're dealing with that. And there's, no matter how well you're prepared, right? You're working for your former coach who, you probably have immense respect for. He taught you things. He got you into this. And there's still not a manual that says, "Here are your 7 steps." It's you got to navigate that and figure out how to have those conversations. But I am curious, now that you go into this athletic director role where you are coaching the coaches, what advice would you give that version of Coach Lane, not to do it differently, but to better navigate it so that you're not dealing with the blow-up situation in hindsight?
Yeah, I definitely would have to say, good question. Just
While
looking back,
you're thinking about it, let me give you the context and the reason for my question. So I don't get a ton of parent complaints. We have a great culture. We have great kids. We have great parents, like everybody does. And we just have a lot of open dialogue. Like, people have access to me. But I had probably 3 situations last year that 9 times out of 10, they deal with playing time. And ultimately, it's like, it wasn't necessarily the playing time as much as it was a lack of deliberate communication between the coach and the athlete and the athlete and the coach. Most teenagers, despite our best hopes and dreams for these kids, they do not have the toolbox to self-advocate at that moment. That's our job, to teach them. And most coaches, they're open to any feedback, but very rarely are they going to seek it out, right? And say, "Hey, give me some." So it's like, how is that coach, if somebody's falling out of the lineup, being very deliberate about it and saying, "Hey, Johnny, listen, you were here. You had all these games to get this done. You're not getting it done. I got to give Michael a chance here." And instead, they just make the switch And then that kid's just sitting there wondering what's going on. And the kid on the van is happy go lucky. So the coach thinks everything is fine, but at home, it's a different story. So that's the genesis of the question.
I definitely would say for me, and correct me if I'm wrong here when I say this, because I did definitely get this from my college coach, but I think it rings true even at the high school level, because I believe like I said, we're not here for wins. We're not trying to coach up or coach up the next LeBron James or McFadden at running back or something. We're just trying to coach up student athletes to be productive male role models and citizens in their community once they leave high school. But as far as just making sure that, my bad, I lost train of thought. What was the question again? My bad, Justin.
What would you have done differently to not change your decision, but to eliminate some of the smoke that came afterwards because of, let's just call it the surprise?
Yeah, so said all that to say I was trying to get back to my point, production business, and letting it be known up front. So correct me if that's wrong, but my college coach, we used to always say, hey, this is a production business, man. The ones that produce are the ones that's going to play on the field. And everybody gets treated fairly, but everybody will not get treated equally. That's just the way it goes in athletics. I would have preached that message early on up front.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I would have did for sure. Yep. And so let me know, do you believe that rings and holds true in high school athletics as well? Because like I said, I got that message from my college coach and I always believed in it.
1,000,000%. And age appropriate coaching. 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old does not inherently have the skill set to read between the lines, to infer that an outcome and a behavior are correlated, even if not causative. So I'll give you a great example. So my daughter, freshman year, starter in volleyball, all league kid, lost sophomore year to COVID. Junior or senior year, she comes home from a game, and I'm also one of those parents where I intentionally don't go to all my kids' games. I need them to understand, like, I'm not always going to be there, and so I don't go. And I also feel like if you're always there, you take away their power of story. I'm not at this game. They come home. I'm like, how'd the game go? She's like, I didn't play. I'm like, huh? And she started. It's like, okay, cool. Why didn't she? Or not? My first question was like, great. How were you as a teammate? She said, elite, like I'm supposed to be. And I said, great, fantastic. Well done. I'm proud of you. And then it was like, well, why didn't you play? I don't know. Coach didn't say anything. Like, okay, no problem, whatever. So next day, coach comes into my office before practice just because she usually does. And I'm like, hey, out of curiosity, what was the messaging that was given to your athletes that fell out of the rotation last night? She's like, what do you mean? I said, just food for thought. I don't care. You're the coach. But she came home. She said this. And in her mind, it's because she sucks. And she's like, no, that wasn't the case. I wanted her to like be more serious and stop like laughing off mistakes. I'm like, okay, cool. Did you ever communicate that? She's like, no. I'm like, well, you need to do that. And she's like, I thought she would understand. It's that. And I'm not knocking my coach or my daughter by any means, but that's the biggest thing that I've run into in the last year, even myself as a coach. It's like, how are you intentionally cultivating those relationships so you can tell a kid, hey, listen, and I'll use my daughter as an example. If you're going to, every time you make a mistake, you're not playing. Okay, just say that. Then the kid can adjust versus you benching them because they're not producing with no explanation whatsoever. And how does that help them grow? And how does that help you as the coach get the production you're looking for? I agree. And I think time, energy, awareness all get in the way of that little conversation that takes away a whole lot of smoke on the back end.
For sure. No, for sure, man. Everything you just said, I agree with 1,000%. Just having those conversations up front and letting it be known. And coaching up your coaches. That's something I've definitely been hearing from a lot of seasoned ADs. That's basically what you just told me, right? A story of basically coaching up your coaches, man. So that's why I've been heavy on going to a lot of these different workshops and conferences about leadership and athletic directing, just because I don't ever want one of my coaches to feel like this guy isn't giving me every tool I need, or I don't have everything I need to succeed in my job as a coach. Like we had one a few weeks ago, I went to a clinic given by the Warriors for PE teachers and coaches. And it was just basically talking about, I've probably seen it before, Justin. They say you got 3 or 4 different personality types on the team, possibly. And I think each one had a color or something like that. And just being able, like you said earlier, I think the key word for a coach, man, is awareness, right? Having that awareness. early on, I didn't have that awareness of my roster. I think I learned that awareness of my teams and how to level with guys on my team. I learned that through teaching. I will be honest. I think I learned that through those icebreakers, the first week of school, the first 2 weeks of school, because I make it a point. That's something I do off rip in my first 2 weeks of school, besides making a good phone calls home. That's the other thing, teachers and admin. Don't always just give phone calls home on bad stuff. Even it out a little bit. Give some good phone calls home, just good updates. But I try to level with my students right off the bat, man. Give me a little bit. I don't need to know your whole personal history or background or life story, but give me something that's going on at home. Just give me a little bit of tangible piece of information so I can run with it. So when we do face confrontation right down the line later in the school year, we can meet at the head and actually be able to iron it out because we both understand where we're coming from. Right. I take that approach with my players and I take that approach with my students.
Yep. No, and I agree. And I think you made a great point that you learned that teaching. And one of the main reasons that I usually ask the question about what have you learned watching other sports that aren't your primary that you've been able to steal from isn't necessarily, it is pushing my multi-sport agenda, but it's really about what are the non-conforming places that you're learning from, right? So as a football coach, can you only go to the football clinic, right? Or as a cross-country coach, can you only learn from other distance coaches? And it's no, like every single person that you're interacting with has something to offer. And how are you gleaning that from them? And you said coach to coaches. Okay, cool. What does that mean for, I don't know, your tennis coach versus your basketball coach, right? They each have different strengths. How are we as athletic directors being sounding boards? How are we asking them, what can I do to help you? What are the things you're struggling with? And the same way that I'm asking of myself and my coaches to try to be more aware and have proactive conversations, we got to do that in our role as well, right? Rather than waiting until something blows up and then trying to put out the fire. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I love that. And I think I almost asked too much so far from a couple of my coaches. Like, as far as, hey, you got everything you need, man? Let me know. Got our first away game coming up for volleyball. Coach texted me at 9, 10 o'clock the other night. Coach, may you be available to help assist driving the players over with the team van? I may need somebody to drive that. Hey, coach, I got you. Don't worry about it. Little stuff like that, man. Just like you said, being that sounding board for them, and I don't ever want a guy to feel like, hey, man, this guy isn't doing his job. He's not giving me all the tools I need to be successful in my role. I don't ever want that to happen.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like Gene Ashen, who was a 40-year AD in our section, one of my mentors, she was on one of the first 10 episodes of the pod, and what she said is our job is to be our coach's number one assistant and be there and make their life easier because they're not getting paid enough, number one. And number two, like how do we let them focus on the main thing, which is teaching the game, using that to cultivate leadership and learning how to be part of something bigger than themselves. And how are we clearing the plate for them to the extent that we can? What are some of the things that, as a coach yourself, you would prefer, welcome, help with, that you can then contextualize that and offer that to your own coaches?
I think I gotta say having that open door policy, man. I think it's really that at the end of the day as an AD, but also keeping that chain of command. I think you spoke on this at the workshop as far as, hey, if a parent or player has an issue about playing time, right, or any complaint, it's not them skipping over the head coach and coming straight to you as the athletic director. Like, I don't want that either. I want the chain of command to be the chain of command, but also understanding, hey, it is an open door policy with me for my parents, players, and coaches. That's how I operate. Should I keep it like that, though? And that's also a question back to you. Like, as far as keep that open door, is that open door policy, should that just be for my coaches or should that be for coaches, players, and parents?
So I think that I was talking to our swim coach yesterday. We're traveling together, and he works in admissions, and we were talking about how I am relatively decent at what I do in my administrative role at my school. I don't know that I would be as productive if I dropped into KIPP Collegiate Navigate. I don't know. Like, I don't have that background. And so I think all of that context to say the answer is it depends. So what we showed at the conference was any conflict should be leveled up appropriately. So players should be able to talk to the coach. If they don't get resolution, then the parent and player can talk to the coach. If they don't get resolution, then the parent and player can talk to the AD. If they don't get resolution, then they can go talk to the principal, right? And then they've reached the tip of the spear. 9 times out of 10, most situations can be resolved early when the player and the coach have open lines of communication. And it's hard because players most of the time don't feel that they're empowered and that the coaches are willing to receive feedback. And I always tell them, I'm like, listen, every one of us wants to get better. The same way that coaches are asking you to get better, we want to be better. And we can't do that without feedback loops. And if the coach isn't soliciting it and you have feelings and advice, share that. Just share it. Like, they don't have to listen to you, but at least you get it on the record. And if you don't, this is the tricky thing. The coach thinks that everything's going okay. They got no reason to believe differently. So ultimately, if you're frustrated and you say nothing about it, you are making a choice to be frustrated. So I think that's level one, is like, how do we empower our athletes to understand that conversation and conflict is not a bad thing? I actually tell people conflict leads to intimacy. So it's like, how do you have whatever disagreement, and then working through it, whether you get the outcome you want or not, you're getting closer with that person into figuring out how they operate.
For sure.
So that to say, yeah, in a perfect world, it always levels up that way. I think that most situations are resolved at the ground floor. I would also say, depending on the environment you're in. So when I cut my teeth in Sacramento at a school, our AD was very bullish on that. People would call him and it's, have you talked to the coach? Nope. Call back when you have. Hang up on him. Or, has your kid talked to the coach? Nope, I don't want to talk to you. I can't do that. I'm in a little bit different environment. So I will receive parent feedback and I will steer them back to where they need to go. I will also run interference in regards to, hey, Coach Lane, I got this call the other day. You might want to reach out to this parent and check in. And so I'll try to put support around it that way rather than me trying to solve it myself. So I think it's always, it depends, right? How close are you, Coach Lane, over the course of the next year with your parent body, right? What are the relationships like? Do they have access? Do they feel like they can get to you? Because often they're not trying to jump to the front of the line. They might just feel that they know you better than they know the coach. And they might be asking for advice, even though it doesn't come off that way. So that's my take on that. I'm curious what your response is.
Yeah, as far as with the parents, man, they ask me all the time. So that one story I gave you earlier about the parent calling me racist or whatever, I think that's probably been my only conflict. That's probably been one of my only, in my education background, coaching history. I've never had a problem with student, never. I've never had to kick a student out. I just don't operate like that. So as far as going back to my own mantra and living my truth, as far as figuring it out, what do I look like kicking a kid and sending them to the lunch or to the front office just because I don't know how to manage my classroom or understand that this kid may have ADHD or this kid may have something he can't be around this topic. You got to also, like you said earlier, awareness, read the room, know who's in your classroom. So that's how I operate for sure.
On that, it's funny. So my mother was a lifetime teacher. AD became an administrator and a vice principal, then a principal. And she said this to me in year one of me being a classroom teacher. And it was essentially, right, you have the referral. And I'm 26 years into this. I've never referred a kid to the office. And part of it from my mom, which was like, the moment you do that, you lose all authority over that kid. And replace authority with whatever words you need to, but you're undermining your relationship with that student by saying to them, I can't control you. I can't create an environment in which you can thrive, so I have to send you to someone else. And I get it. Some people aren't equipped or they got a lot going on, but it's to what you just said. What are we gaining by sending them out? How do you call them in somehow? And I think that's always the challenge, because I don't know what the classroom size is like at KIPP, but when I was teaching public school, I had 38 to 40 kids in a class, and you can only do so much. But I love that approach, right? It's How do you keep the student at the center of the equation? And how does that transfer into sports in your mind? If in the classroom, here's the goal, and on the athletic fields or courts, here's the goal. How do we make sure we don't let adult problems get in the way of kids?
Man, I like to say, like I said earlier, right? Keeping the main thing. Oftentimes, I know you've seen it as far as like sometimes we'll get those athletes where their parents are trying to live through them, right? Especially on the sports side. I instantly try to just let the student athlete know, hey, this is your life, your career first and foremost, right? Not your parents. And I didn't mention earlier, I come from a big SPED background. Like 7 of the 8 years I've worked in education have been in special education. I'm very big on self-advocacy. And you touched on it a few times in this pod, Justin. That's something I'm working with freshmen right now. I only have freshmen in my PE class. That's something I see that a lot of them lack. I'm not sure if that's from the COVID years with the social distancing and stuff and learning online, but their social skills and man, even signing their name for their work. Justin, man, I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell these kids to put their name down. First and last name. You're not the only Justin in the world, bro. There's other Justins. There's other Daniel Gutierrez. Put your full name on there. And I don't know where that comes from. If that's from COVID and schools giving out Chromebooks now, so kids are used to typing now instead of having to put their name on. But I'm telling kids like, hey, if this is a legal document, though, you have to write your full name. You still have to have that habit. Man, I don't know, man. I find ourselves at the public school level. We're public charter, but I find myself with the education system. It's a lot of It's a lot of irony in it, man. It's a lot of irony in it, and I feel we talk out of both sides of our mouth sometimes as an education system.
Yes, and I did not know that. And so what I'm really curious about, I've had a couple of coaches on that have a SPED background, and I'm always curious, given that area of expertise, let's call it, how would you share, coach, educate our colleagues that don't have that background into the power of, what's the right word? Individualized instruction, so to speak, right? Because you're dealing with learning challenges that are outside of the majority group, right? So if you got 20 kids on a team and 16 of them can process one way, you as a SPED teacher know I've got to individualize some things for these four. But if I don't have that background, it's just, no, you're just going to keep repping it out. And if these kids can't figure it out, then clearly like they got a problem. Talk a little bit about how you bring that to this situation.
Yeah, man, I think I can help hugely there because first and foremost, I'm sure you know some of our SPED people, man, especially our autistic kids, are some of our most smartest and brightest kids that walks this campus. First and foremost, and going back to my very first year coaching at my alma mater in 2018 at Castle Valley High, I had coached the secondary. One of my best players was a SPED kid, IEP kid. He'll come down, lay your butt out. He'll lay you out. He was my free safety. So I've come to terms over the years. I've realized first and foremost, you can't treat them differently. Don't approach them differently and don't treat them differently in front of others. In front of others. All right. You can't do that. All right. That kind of ostracize, that kind of put them as an outcast right away amongst their peers. You don't want to do that. Second thing is let them go through everything regularly first. It also lets you see what do you need to tweak? What do you need to frame, right? So for that kid, I can't remember his name. I don't want to say his name anyway, but the kid I was referring to earlier, my safety, that first year, that was a SPED kid when I coached football, I quickly picked up that he was bad with the communication, right? So instantly, guys, hey, he's a mute. He's not really going to verbalize anything back to you, the other guys in the secondary. So I said, hey, make sure we have signs and signals for every single call and check for my guy so he can be able to, hey, get the check and be able to process it real quick and be able to perform, right? Instead of having to sit there, communicate, that makes him shell up a little bit. He gets tense and then now he can't perform. No, we're just going to have hand signs, give it to my guy. He knows what it is. All right, let's go out and play. I think, like I said earlier, first and foremost, making sure you treat them regular in front of others and then actually letting them go through the drills and the sports and the activities like a regular student first or a regular athlete, and then you'll have your baseline, right? To then you can see what do I need to accommodate, what do I need to modify to help in my coaching approach to help make this student athlete succeed.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. So, man, I would say in the last 10 years or less, I realized just how different people's, let's call it, input preferences can be. And it wasn't because I read some book. It wasn't because I had some experience in the classroom. It was because I was taking this like one-on-one Pilates class and the instructor would tell me, "Hey, do this." And I'm like, I can't do that. You have to like physically put me in the position because you telling it's just and it
Not
was
gonna
this
work.
realization that's like I I don't know if I'm tactile, I'm visual, whatever, but like visually, like I need to see certain things. But like my auditory processing, it's like I can hear you and I can understand you, but there's no way I'm executing that instruction in the same way I am if I can read it or if you can like physically put me in that space. And it was this kind of eye-opening moment for me to be like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like these kids we're coaching and teaching are probably having similar responses, and how do we adapt to that? What are your thoughts on that? And I think it's like anybody listening, go take a lesson in something and see how you respond to it in the way in which you learn and process information and see how that informs how you.
Something that you're not inclined about. Yeah, man. Like I said, the SPED background, it helped me. It helps me so much just because, like I said, I have that awareness. I have that eye for now. So I'm almost seasoned to the point where now, Jay, I can almost see it in the conversation with the student as far as I don't have to put them through the drills anymore. I just know once I have this a certain 5-minute conversation with them, all right, what's your strengths and weaknesses? All right, cool. I got you. I got the plan for you moving forward. Like it's that quick for me now. Before I will actually have to see them go through and then you might have to tap the head coach. This kid got an IEP or a 504 plan. I'm not sure. But now I see it. I know it right away. I know how to approach them without making them feel outcasted or anything like that. It's definitely a specialty of mine. And one of the most gratifying jobs I ever had was working with special ed. I love working with the special ed population, man, just because I try to teach my athletes to be grateful, lead with gratitude, be grateful for each day. Tomorrow's not promised, but we can have all the problems in the world, right? But when you come to school and you teach in SPED, man, the actual crippling effects they have, some of them may be actual physical and you can see it, or some may be just mental, but you see the handicaps that they have and they're still smiling, man. They're still enjoying life, getting through the day. I love working with the special education population.
No, it's been, yeah, super informative if you're open to the lessons that are being put in front of you. All right, last question. We've been on for a while and I appreciate that. We can do
Sure.
this forever. I always ask this question, which is what is something you've most recently changed your mind on? And most of the time you're going to default to coaching or teaching or administrating. It could be parenting, whatever. But the genesis of the question, which I got from a guy named Dave Stahoviak on a different podcast, is how are we purposefully challenging our belief system? How are we
Mm.
working on growth mindset, especially in an era where everybody lives in the echo chamber and it's frowned upon to have dissenting voice, to challenge an opinion, to change your mind, to not be part of the tribe. What's something that you've purposefully like recently changed your mind on by challenging that belief system? I used to think this,
Yeah.
now I'm over here, and here's why. I've changed my
Yeah.
mind on this.
Man, I gotta say intentionality, right? Just being intentional with how I approach every day. I'm in the leadership director role now. It's nothing like the roles I've had before. And I've also felt like I did my time following, right? I think it's time for me to lead. I believe you can only be a great leader if you follow, right? And you know how to follow. So just all those things, man, and just trying to be intentional with how I approach each day, waking up, making sure I have a routine, a set routine. I get up at 5 every morning, go about my day from there, but just making sure I have the right mindset, right attitude when I walk into these doors, when I walk onto this campus, because these kids look up to me, man. It's only 3 weeks. Only been 2 weeks of school. I had to miss 2 days, yesterday and Friday. I came back today because I had meetings and other stuff, and the kids are all on me today. I was shocked. I was like, they're like, Coach Lane, where you been at? I'm like, damn, only been here for a couple. Hey, I love y'all too, man. That's love, though. That's the type of love and gratification that we want to see. But when we come back, but it just lets me know I'm going about things the right way. I want to keep going about things the right way, that how I'm going about them. And the biggest thing with me, man, even when I was playing, I don't care if you looked at me as if I was a star athlete or a regular player. I was that player no matter what. You can ask any of my coaches. I was always still I was willing to learn. I was still always asking questions, man. I know Tim Lugo, the other AD. I've been asking him so many damn questions, man, since they ended. We done got on the phone together. We done got on Zoom. We done talked. But that's me, man, in a nutshell. I'm a sponge. I want to keep learning. Being that if I'm working with the youth, I got to constantly refine my knowledge, refine my own wisdom. So I'm trying to always pick up and learn something so I can be able to pass it down to the kids that's underneath me. But yeah, that being intentional with how I wake up and approach every day, man, that's something I've been trying to change. Sure.
And I would just piggyback on what you said, reading between the lines there, is there's also an intentionality to seek out help and support, right? It's like you didn't know Lugo a month ago, you didn't know me a month
Yeah.
ago, and it's like you're on the phone all the time. And I'm just kudos to you, but more importantly, for our colleagues that are listening, we often feel like we're in a silo and we have maybe one other person we talk to, but what's keeping you from calling the coach at the rival school and talking through issues, right? Because
Yeah.
ultimately, guess what? If the rivalry exists, they're probably pretty successful at it and they probably got some answers. So get out of your own way and go call that guy and
For
see what's
sure.
going
Come
on.
on, man.
Yeah,
Come on, man. You got to get out your own way. And that's the only way you're going to grow, right? You got to walk into things with an open mind so you can be able to grow from there.
no doubt,
Yeah.
man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on and appreciate you trying to come see me this weekend when you came down, but hopefully the next time you get down there, because I try not to leave the peninsula if I don't have to.
Hey, man, I come down there every year. I've been down there 15 years straight. Me and my partner, we come down there at least 2, 3 times a year, man. I definitely got compañeros before I
There
hit
we
the
go.
road on Sunday. So we'll definitely be back down there in a couple months, and we're definitely going to get together for sure, Jay.
All
Appreciate
right.
you, man.
Okay. I'll see you at CCS in a little while. Until then, man.
All right. Appreciate you, Jay.